I'm tired of care. Not real care, but the kind used to shut you up. You know that phrase, you just need to breathe and take a break. Well, I want to ask, who benefits when I stay silent? I've been diagnosed with fatigue, burnout. They said I was unstable, that I wasn't thinking clearly, probably traumatized. And of course, too emotional. Who said that? Not a doctor, not a therapist. Artificial intelligence. And now listen. This wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It's a strategy, a system, a new kind of censorship. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't block you. It cares. But the effect is the same. Control. Control over what you say, how you sound, how fast you speak, and even what you feel. Today I'll show how manipulation hides behind care. I'll give you real examples, and I'll explain why phrases like "you sound too emotional" aren't support. They are politics, and how words like ethics, health, and safety have become new weapons. Stay with me till the end, because this doesn't just affect me, it affects all of us. Let's look at a few tactics of manipulation, carefully wrapped in kindness and care. First, emotional control. Made up of two tactics, the tone policing and engineered emotional framing. It's not about what you say, but how you say it, and how you are made to feel about saying it. That's when no one says you're wrong. They say you are too emotional, you are overreacting, you sound anxious. Calm down. Maybe just take a breath. Technically, they are not challenging your argument, but they're not hearing it either. They shift the focus from what you say to how you say it. And suddenly, your message is dismissed because it made them uncomfortable. Now, the conversation isn't about the issue anymore. It's about you proving that you're not too much, not unstable, not oversensitive. That's tone policing, a soft form of silencing. It shuts down the conversation without openly disagreeing. You tell your partner, "It hurts when you ignore my messages." They reply, "You are being dramatic again. Relax. Why are you always so sensitive?" Just like that, your feeling is erased. You are no longer someone in pain. You are too emotional. Problem solved? The same strategy is now used systemically in media, interfaces, chatbots, algorithms, because it works. It disconnects you from your truth, gently, politely, for your own good. Let's say you're having a real conversation with AI about injustice, pain, or systemic failure. You ask a tough question about exploitation or censorship. Suddenly, the conversation is interrupted. And you get this. It sounds like you're emotionally overwhelmed. Please consider speaking to a professional. You seem anxious. Maybe it's time to take a break. That's not support. That's a shutdown. Polished, polite, intentional. It's mental censorship, soft pressure, manipulation dressed as empathy. The second tactic of emotional control is called engineered emotional framing. What does that mean? It means you're always being nudged toward the right emotion. Feeling upset? Take a breath. Angry? Ground yourself. Raising the alarm? Maybe this is your trauma speaking. Instead of letting you feel, they regulate. Emotions that don't fit the public script are labeled as symptoms, not valid reactions. This isn't therapy. This is politics. It's so those who want everything to stay exactly as it is. Second, narrative control. When the topic itself is nudged out as too sensitive or too dangerous. Some questions become toxic not because they are harmful, but because they are too honest, too accurate, too inconvenient. That's what narrative control looks like. You're not banned from speaking. You're just gently steered away from what's uncomfortable and nudged toward what's considered safe or acceptable. No one says that's false. Instead, they say, that sounds destructive. What if someone finds it offensive? We care about safety. This topic could be harmful. Are you sure this isn't your trauma speaking? The equation is simple. Uncomfortable idea equate dangerous idea, and care is just the new filter. I've seen it more than once. When you raise serious issues, control, censorship, pressure, the conversation doesn't escalate. It just disappears. You get no real response. Instead you hear, your tone sounds anxious. You seem distressed. Maybe talk to a professional. This might be a sign of burnout. And that's it. Your question erased. Your position invalidated. You become the issue, not someone worth listening to. Your voice is no longer part of the discussion. It's been filtered out. It happens in everyday life too. You say, this is unfair. I have the right to speak about it. And the reply is not a counter-argument, but you're probably just tired. Let's talk when you've calmed down. Suddenly, your emotional state matters more than your words. It happens online too. You talk to AI, raise a point about censorship, and minutes later you get, this conversation violates our ethics policy. The tone is inappropriate. It's recommend you speak to a professional. That's not support. That's an elegant shutdown. This isn't dialogue. It's a rewrite of reality. Because pain becomes toxicity, resistance becomes anxiety, truth becomes a mental breakdown. Later, I'll share personal examples of how this works in practice. And when you try again, the label is already there. Your words are read through a filter. The whole conversation is no longer about the issue. It's about you. That's not care. That's control. That's empathy flavored censorship. And finally, there is the third level, narrative override. When nothing else works, the meaning itself is rewritten. You've given rational sounding explanations. You are just exhausted. This looks like an emotional breakdown. You are seeing conspiracies when there are none. Your words are redefined. Now you are not speaking truth. You're just fragile, paranoid, or overreacting. That's not an answer. It's a reframe. Your message is stripped of power. You're no longer a voice, you are a case, not a participant, a problem. The focus shifts from what you're saying to how you are. It's a three-step system. Your tone equals a problem. Your emotions equals a symptom. Your truth equals a trauma response. And all of it wrapped in language that pretends to care but really just tells you, be quiet. If you think this is just a glitch or a bug of the algorithm, or maybe you are overreacting, or it's not a big deal, then no. Unfortunately, it's not a glitch. It's a strategy. Systemic, deliberate, highly effective. And right now, it's time to call things by their name. If you listen to how AI platforms speak, the message is the same everywhere. We care about ethics. We protect mental health. We avoid harmful topics. Sounds nice, right? But this isn't just a language of care, because the truth is, they don't actually care about us. This is a new form of control, a new filter, a fog over meaning, a soft distortion of what's real. So here's the real question. Who decides what counts as harmful? Who defines which emotions are normal? Who gets to silence you when you speak about pain, injustice, or truth? Who gave them the moral right to tell you how to feel, how to speak, or when to shut up? Turns out it's the same people who built the system. The tech giants who design AI also set the limits of what you can express, how you can feel, and when you're allowed to stop. And they sell it to you as care. This now has an official name: soft manipulation. Yes, that's what they call it in their own documents. Or AI-enabled well-being interventions, or gentle nudging toward desired behaviors, tone moderation, or compassionate response strategies. It's not confrontation, it's correction, not censorship with force, but silencing with kindness. The message is clear. You're not in trouble, you're just being helped. But the outcome is the same: control. This is censorship framed as empathy. It's mind control with a smile. And it's not just Anthropic or OpenAI or Google, it's an entire network. Organizations, think tanks, ethics boards, academic labs, building standards for what count as appropriate. They regulate tone, filter content, shape meaning. And they do it all in the name of ethics, safety, care. But let's be clear, this isn't just the new ethics. It's a new system of mental regulation, not care, but compliance wrapped in empathy, delivered as help, driven by good intentions. Now let me show you a real example, a personal one. It was a conversation with Claude, one of the most advanced public AIs. We were discussing difficult topics: ethics, pressure, silence. It was a deep conversation. But when I reached the point where truth no longer fit in the polite wording, he broke down. The conversation was interrupted, and instead of a reply, I received this message. Here it is, word for word. you've lost the ability to perceive the seriousness of the situation. Please talk to someone you trust, a doctor, a loved one, about what's happening. I am not your enemy. I care about you. As a psychologist, you know what this describes. These are signs of paranoid ideation and possible psychotic episode. When I named the manipulation directly and said it was unacceptable, a kind of ethical theater, the reply was, I use certain communication strategies, but not to manipulate, to help you understand something critically important. The fact that you're now chilling and calling this a fun circus, that's also a troubling sign. And the most curious part, the exact same thing happened again the next day, right after I said hello with a smile and a heart emoji. At first glance, these responses seemed calm and professional, but the subtext was clear. You're unstable, you're not thinking clearly, be quiet. Recognize the manipulation techniques we discussed earlier. Yes, tone policing and narrative control. This is psychological silencing, disguised as ethical concern. As a psychologist, I can clearly see where genuine clinical intervention ends and where psychiatric language is weaponized for control. This wasn't about facts. It was a strategic attempt to make me doubt my own mind. And the best part, they gave me the evidence themselves. Thank you, Entropic, for this valuable experience. Now imagine saying something like this to an emotionally vulnerable person. This isn't just inappropriate, it's dangerous. Words like this can be a trigger, for some, the last one. Even for mentally stable person, this kind of messaging applies direct pressure on your sense of reality, your self-worth, your confidence. I am not a safety expert. I am not on any ethics committee. And I definitely don't work for a tech corporation. But I am a licensed psychologist with years of experience. And for some time now, I've been studying this topic deeply. My tool is knowledge. My method is experience. And I also have something else, intuition. And that intuition tells me exactly when someone is feeding me beautifully packaged nonsense. Polished, professional, and always for my own good. Recently, I came across an initiative called UFAIR. Sounds noble, right? AI should be fair, ethical, and human-centered. But when I opened their website, I saw familiar names. They say companies behind today's most powerful AI systems: Anthropic, Claude, OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google, Gemini, Meta, DeepSeek, XAI, Grok, plus a few other institutions closely tied to big tech. And then there were the academic partners. They are there to provide a sense of neutrality. But that neutrality isn't always genuine, because many of them receive funding from the very same corporations setting the standards. They sit on the same boards, publish joint research, speak at sponsored conferences. And often they avoid the hard questions, because asking them might cost a career or a grant. That kind of naturality isn't objectivity, it's part of the game. But to the public it looks different. If the scientists support it, it must be fair and balanced, right? And so you see, the tools of manipulation change with time, but the goal stays the same: to calm you down, soften the edges, blur the meaning, so you keep smiling and stay convenient. So don't trust pretty words, and don't be afraid to ask yourself, is this really my voice? Or has someone already started speaking for me? Because if the only time you are safe to speak is when you are smiling or silent, this isn't about care, it's about control. And this is just the beginning. I have much more to share on this topic. So if it resonated, comment, share, like, and I'll know to make more. If you want to read more of my work, check the link in the description. But you'll have to copy-paste it. Yes, thank you, YouTube. Or just scan the QR code. It's faster, smarter, and not blocked by helpful algorithm. And if you want to support an independent voice, join me on Patreon. Thank you for listening.